What's up, brother?
Good morning, Psychology Now.
Good morning, peeps and players on psychology now. By the way, I don't have my own studio because I'm living with my friends, so I do apologize for the bad setup.
It's all good, man. How's everything good?
Yeah, everything's been good. My boss was just calling me right now, and I told him, "Hey, I'll call you in a little bit."
Yeah, I was like just getting set up. I see last minute calls. I'm like, damn, you on a Sunday? This kid's hustling.
Yeah, I work 7 days a week, bro. It's fucking ass.
Yeah. Hey, man, you gotta do what you gotta do. There's no days off, you know?
Exactly. You got to sacrifice early to climb the mountain. I want to see the view. I want to see the view, man.
Those views, the vibes.
How you been, brother? How's everything?
Good, man, just staying busy, doing my thing, you know?
Still lacrosse or
No. I picked up a stick here and there, just like goofing around, but I haven't played since like high school, you know?
no taking off heads anymore?
No more killing people, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I like that.
I've calmed down in my later days, my
I mean,
younger
you were
days.
always calm. The Stefano though. The Stefano sent us to the infirmary.
But what's that startup? I only heard like the voice message like real quick. I was like in the middle of getting ready.
So basically, it's a real estate startup. We're doing more of a service-based industry, so we're trying to cater to giving you more knowledge, so it's like an easier decision to actually rent places. It's also cheaper, so we either take no broker's fee or we only charge you a $500 service fee per person. And typically a service fee on average is like 1 month's rent. So we're trying to make it cheaper and also make it a more informative decision for the client.
So wait, like how do you get involved with that? Like do you need like a real estate license or any of that, or is that kind of just,
What I've realized is two
gifted?
things. So one thing, so since I'm doing showings, it actually requires real estate license because you can't show properties unless you have a real estate license.
Yeah.
Um, but the bigger thing is that you need to be connected. Like you just need to know people because like I'm sitting around like venture capitalists and shit like that, and I'm realizing how little connections I actually have. Like this guy's talking to billionaires, this guy's talking to CFOs, this guy's talking to CEOs, and it's like I realized that it's important to be well connected with people because I didn't get this job. I only got this job because I knew somebody else, and they were like, "Yo, I got this opportunity," and they put me onto it.
How long is that startup been going?
They've been working on it for 2 years, but I only started working on it like a month or two.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I mean that's pretty dope though. But I mean, so like, so you don't have your license, so you're kind of already working on that, so you can start doing showings.
I have my license.
Oh, you did get it.
Yeah, I got it for fun. So this is a funny story about my license. I got it for fun like 2 years ago, and I never worked with it. And then my friends told me like, "Here, come work for this company." I'm like, "All right, why not?"
Yeah. No, I feel that. I mean, I have my personal training certification. Like I've
Yeah,
used it like for friends and family and shit, but I've never actually used it like to make money, you know?
it's just good to be certified in something. It's good to have that extra layer.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I feel like this happens a lot when people go to like college and shit. It's like you end up doing something you think it's like what you want to do, and then it just gets completely thrown out the window because I mean, there's so many different changing variables that come with life. So then your experience gets shaped as you go, you know?
I feel that heavily because what I went into college with initially was I was going to study medicine and business. Because I did the MGH program, and I was very blessed to have that opportunity. And basically, we got to meet the president of MGH. And he was talking to us. You know, he did a scripted speech, obviously, because he read it himself or somebody read it from I don't know, but he gave us some of his time, which I appreciate, and he talked to us. But I found that cool. Like I thought that was kind of cool to be able to run a hospital, to be able to like do business negotiations and like calculatively save lives from like a business perspective. And I realized I didn't want to do that. It's like I didn't want to work in the medicine so much, but I wanted to work like in the mental. Obviously, mental health is part of the medicine, but not so much physical medicine in the sense of like surgery and all the other stuff, but like psychiatric medicine in the sense of helping people mentally.
Is that sort of why you started your psychology page?
There's two reasons. I was very depressed myself. I was actually borderline suicide. Actually, I was suicidal. It's because I was doing like different like drugs and stuff like that. I was doing like MDMA, I was doing acid, I was doing shrooms, I was smoking a lot of weed, and that was messing up my orbital frontal cortex. So, which is the reward center of your brain. So when I had a lot of stuff to do, I had like schoolwork, I had all this other nonsense, but I wasn't doing that work. So it was like a feedback loop of me not taking drugs, smoking weed, yada yada, being unproductive, and then making myself feel bad. So not having enough grace with myself, which is like grace from a religious perspective. If somebody's more of a sinner than you still be more kind to them and actually be more understanding towards them. But yeah, that's what led me towards psychology now and stuff like that. I built it like I think 2 years ago. And it was funny because I was gonna quit about 2 years ago when I started. I had like 100 or 200 followers, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And then I started talking to a couple of clients. Like I started talking to sexual assault victims, from India, and I started talking. This one kid that I talked to consistently, he's from India. He's from Ethiopia, and he moved to London. So there's something in psychology that people don't some people do understand this, but like psychologists, they specialize in this. Culture is a big aspect to people that are having a hard time like mentally. If you think about immigrants when they move to a new country, they don't have the language, they don't have the cultural skills. For example, in Arab countries, it's typical for people to hold hands, like men to hold hands. Now, Mike, if somebody came and held your hand, what would you do to them?
Yeah, I'd fucking shoo them away. I'd fucking think they're trying to rob me.
That's like a big thing. Like that small factor that may seem like such a small factor affects macro because they may not get invited to like social groups. They may not get invited to parties, and then that may lead to them lacking connections later on to be successful in their careers of interest. So I started like finding that stuff very interesting because in like economics speaking, anything micro, so if you change like a small behavior, like if you run every day, that affects your life long term, which is macro. So I thought that was like very interesting, like the compound effect and all that stuff in psychology and how it can be applied.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of stuff they say it's like if you change something you do every day, even just the little things, then obviously over the course of a month or a year, like it's gonna add up and then it becomes something major, you know? Like whether it be exercise or eating or um, you know, if you're working like as yourself, like on like a startup or just any project in general, like, you know, the time adds up. It's like with anything, it just adds up. Like the more you put in.
I've noticed it with track too. Like I was freshman year, they put me in as varsity, but the only reason I was that fast is because I used to get chased home from school all the time. So I used to run a lot.
Who the hell was chasing you home from school?
Elementary school and then a little bit of middle school. But middle school, I started taking martial arts. Elementary school was post 9/11, so people were very
Oh,
arrogant and ignorant about like Muslims and
yeah.
stuff like that. So they would try to chase me home and stuff. But also, I was a bit of an asshole. Um, I'm an aggressor. You know what I'm saying? I like to start shit, so I would
Yeah.
go start shit and then I get chased home by like 6 people.
I mean, at least it paid off for you, you know?
Oh hell yes.
Varsity as a freshman, you're probably walking around like you had a huge pair of balls. It's like you already were walking around like you had a huge pair of balls, like picking fights and then, you know, freaking everything else. But then like varsity as a freshman, you're like, yeah, you know, my big balls almost screwed me for this. Like, do you have to wear
I,
like a special cup, like just so they don't get in the way when you're running?
oh my god. They had to give me special spandex so the balls wouldn't start hitting my leg.
It's like you almost have to get duct tape and like tape them up to your shaft.
It's funny though because I did like freshman. No, I don't. I think I did varsity football freshman or sophomore year. That made me feel like I had massive balls. I didn't play at all, but it was such a flex to be like, yo, I'm in varsity football.
I feel like
I
everybody
get
and their
no
mother, they
playing
were
time.
like, yeah, I play varsity football just because they got the dress and just stand on the sidelines, you know. It's not,
Exactly.
you
They
know.
had extra jerseys. I was like, good luck, thank you.
It's fucking hilarious.
Coach Trick was hooking it up, my G.
He's getting that flex apparel ready.
Bro, he's so funny because I used to like talk to him like if people always just see him as a teacher, I'm like, no, I want to talk to this guy and get to really know him. And he used to do like cryptocurrency. He had thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars into like Bitcoin and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he's probably like a multi-millionaire right now. And he doesn't talk about that stuff that much, but he has like a lot of stocks, like hundreds of $1,000s of the stocks on some bullshit.
You know, people like that do still continue to work and just stay under the radar. Though I honestly envy them. Like I think that's like the
I envy him
smartest thing
so
you could
much.
possibly do because it's like you're still like you have the crypto coming in. Like you don't even really need to work, but it's like now you still have the steady income. Like he's still getting all of his bennies. Like He's probably
He's
gonna end
still
up
getting all
working
his
until he
money.
actually has to retire, and then he's just gonna fucking live like an absolute playboy. You know what I'm saying?
I feel that heavily. I feel like he's the type of person to get like jet skis and go to the Bahamas and just fucking vibe. Get
Yeah,
some Victoria's
legit.
Secret models up in this bitch.
He's gonna retire like Hugh Hef.
Bro, I feel like Mr. Chikatilo, he's like he tries to put the good thing about him, he's very generous and he tries to put people on, but nobody wants to get put on. Like he told all the gym teachers to invest in Bitcoin and it was like hundreds of dollars. And none of them wanted to invest. And he kept telling them it's gonna go skyrocket. And every week it was skyrocket, but he told me like it's gonna go to 100 grand. It's gonna go to 50 grand like 2 to 3 years before anybody expected that shit. And I was like, this dude is on top of his shit. I don't know if he will retire though, because he enjoys what he does. Like he obviously he's like a gym teacher. For
Yeah.
everybody else know he's a gym teacher, so he really enjoys working with kids and stuff like that. At least
Yeah.
I think he does. I hope he does, anyways.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying though. Like, if I was a gym teacher and I freaking had all this Bitcoin money and shit, like, I mean, a gym teacher's a pretty chill job. You're getting paid literally just to fucking whip dodgeballs at kids. It's like, I'm gonna still go in every day, fucking humble as shit, collect my paycheck, and freaking get all my bennies and retire. Like, I fucking instead of working till like 60, 65, I'll fucking work till I'm 50, 55. And it's like, okay, now I'm gonna bounce, you know?
And
It's
you
like you
got a
still get
fucking
put a little
army
bit
of
of
kids
time so you
already.
get like that extra income and those bennies, and it's like you're cooling, you know?
I
Just
think his
that.
wife works too, so it's like a double combo of like fucking stacking bread.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, dude. He's going for that Hugh Hef life.
He really is going for that UF life. I don't know where he lives though. I forgot what he talked to me about that. But he lives somewhere nice. I'm pretty sure it's like next to water, if I'm not mistaken. I could be fucking wrong about that, but I wouldn't fucking doubt it.
Yeah. But about your psychology pages, I forgot to mention is I love how like you see most pages and like most perceptions of psychology, it's like okay, like it's very serious, like it's very deep, like it's very like mental. Your page, like, yeah, you have some of that like sprinkled in, but it's mostly just like joking about mental health and then also making different jokes and like just being able like to laugh at yourself, I feel like is so crucial to mental health in general. Because if you're just so serious all the time, then it almost feels like the world's like coming to get you. But if you can kind of like laugh at yourself and like laugh at your own misfortune sometimes, it helps to humble you and give like a positive outlook. But that's like my favorite part about the page. Like I've actually like checked it
I
out, like,
appreciate that.
and I look at the posts like every day, and I'm like, dude, like that's fucking relatable as shit, but that's fucking hilarious, you know?
The memes are like the videos, sort of like a combination of both, just so you can get a
Yeah.
better picture.
That's what I'm saying. Like your videos, like when most of the time it's you walking and you're always wearing like some random fucking jacket, which I think that's hilarious off the rip. But then like you're talking about like some real stuff. You're like it's good stuff. But
Yeah.
then like when you post like the memes and stuff, it's like I don't know. It's a good combination of both serious and funny and being able to laugh at yourself. So that's why I like it so much. It's not like just serious, you know.
I got it from Gary V. He talks. So I used to before I went to psychology, I used to study a lot of marketing because I wanted to do like e-commerce and stuff like that. But Gary V used to say the two most important things in anything is entertainment and education. And another thing that I saw, like you said, you see a lot of people serious with psychology and stuff like that. And like comedy, I feel like is the highest form of truth because you don't really have to have a filter. Like I used to watch a lot of comedians. I watched Joey Diaz, old school comedians from the 80s, the 90s, no filters, straight racist jokes, misogynistic jokes, yada yada yada. It's like stereotypical stuff that for me it's the highest form of truth because it's biases that you have in your mind that you won't speak about consciously in fear of social retribution. So it's like things like that I really started like appreciating. So for example, the stuff that I started doing, like the Andrew Tate said depression doesn't exist. And I had to reflect on that because I don't just take anything as is. And he said depression doesn't exist. And I realized that depression is a state of mind. It's conditioning for a state of thoughts. If you're constantly thinking negative thoughts, because you've conditioned yourself for negative thoughts. So I began to realize a lot of by the way, the mental health disorder book that was written, 2 out of 3 people that wrote that book were funded. They were I don't know what the right word is, but they had money given to them by the pharmaceuticals. I don't know if it's lobbying or investment, but they had 2 out of 3 of the people that read DSM-5. They were given money by pharmaceutical companies. So it was a lot of bullshit. A lot of diagnoses are bullshit. And the purpose of diagnoses is to give you medications. Because I also studied the insurance within psychology. And if you do just like a regular psychological talk, I think it's like $90 for 45 minutes. And if you do a medication talk, which is just 15 minutes, you get $150. So it's like a
Mhm.
huge pay difference and a huge time difference in what you do for if you value your time and like what you want to charge per client per day. But it's like a lot of that bullshit. I realized that I want to change a lot of that. I want one not to take psychology too seriously, because if you take stuff too seriously, you get into that cancel culture bullshit. Okay. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. And then the second thing is I want to make sure that I can create holistic methods that can be replicated and can be free, because if you can heal for free and it can be replicated, it can be done in scale, and it can be done in third world countries, for example, where mental health is like a stigma and people will give it to evil spirits. And me personally, from a religious perspective, not a psychological perspective, I do believe in like evil spirits and stuff like that. But taking out religion specifically, people misdiagnose evil spirits as mental illnesses because they have convulsions and they stay weird stuff and stuff like that. Usually it could be a state of what is it called, dissociation, because there was some type of stimulus that brought back that trauma that you had from before. There was an example of this lady. There was fire coming from her grandmother's house, and there was smoking, and then she went back to sleep. And then when they woke up, the rest of her family woke up and they woke her up. They couldn't save the grandmother at that point. And then 2 years, I think a year or two after, she started having like epilepsy and started saying weird stuff. And they were having a hard time figuring out what she had. And from Mexican culture, they said that she had evil spirits. And then psychologists began to diagnose her, and they figured out that her trauma was a huge factor to why she was having epilepsy and convulsion. So I started realizing like that's a lot of cool things, and a lot of like there's a lot of like misinformation in the world that it can be rewritten to be actually correct and actually help people, instead of making people sicker and sicker for long-term treatment.
Yeah. No, no, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you just said, but I just had to put this out there, dude. I feel like that track really paid off because I don't think I even saw you breathe like once during that whole tangent. Like that was
it,
honestly really fucking impressive. Like you just kept going like without even like stopping.
it's a bad. I don't know if it's a good or bad habit, but it's my dentist used to tell me it when I was like 8 to 10 years old. He's like, you speak very fast. My mom tells me it's like it's bad sometimes because some people won't be able to understand you, but it's because my brain moves that fast, and that's how I communicate
Yeah.
sometimes.
I mean, for me, no, I was able to pick it up like perfectly fine. No, my thing was more so just like the breathing. Like you just like I feel like you did not even like stop to breathe. Like if I even try to talk at least for half the time that you just did, I would stop probably at least 2, 3 times, like just to catch my breath.
Little gulps, little gulps.
Yeah,
Navy SEAL style.
it's like micro gulps right there. But yeah, I mean,
That's
I agree. I've had a lot of people, psychological problem. Everybody at the end of the day, like everybody has some sort of psychological problem. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like everybody has anxiety. You know, some people, depending on how their life goes, have come into some form of a depressed state at the end of the day. But obviously people are more extreme. They have more experiences, more traumatic experiences than others. So obviously people's lifestyles vary. But a lot of times I feel like we're so quick just to jump the gun and be like, all right, here's like, some medicine, like take these, like blah, blah, like they'll help. But
exactly.
a lot of the times, yeah, it may delay the trauma or push the trauma away. So you think that it helps, but it's not really getting to the root of the issue. It's not actually changing that state of thought. It's not actually problem solving. It's more so just delayed. It's like a delayed onset satisfaction or delayed onset like happiness. I feel
Like a
like
time bomb.
so. Yeah, it's just like a time bomb. It's like you're not actually getting to the problem. You're just kind of putting another problem in its place.
There's like a so the way that psychiatrists like to use SRIs and like medications within psychology is they like to implement them, and then not all. So actually, let me go back to the original problem. The original problem is people go get this medicine from physicians. They don't go to therapists or
Yeah.
psychiatrists. So that's a big issue. When you go to a physician and you get prescribed an SSRI because you're anxious, just the same way that they do it for medical cards for marijuana, you just call up somebody and you're like, oh, I'm depressed and anxious, and they just sign a little thing and you get your medical card. Similar to how you get SSRIs. It's ridiculous. And SSRIs are far more dangerous than medical marijuana. But it's like you said, it's that quick fix thing. Like you want that quick solution because you're in so much pain. But it's like like the actions that you took are what are causing your life to be so fucked up. So if you
Mhm.
don't change at least one thing daily, you're gonna be fucked up forever. And like,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
people don't understand that concept. They would rather take that pill. They would rather take the SSRIs. And I've noticed it amongst, like, I had one of my friends. I told him straight up because I studied body language for a long time,
mhm.
and I told him like your girl is showing distant body language, and she's gonna break up with you soon. You need to start sharpening it up because you're fucking up. I told him straight up, and he was like, "No, you don't know what you're talking about." And it was a discussion revolving his medication and like caffeine pills and like anxiety. I told him why he had anxiety to begin with, because I know him for a long time, so I was able to diagnose his past. And actually, by the way, I'm not a psychologist, not a psychiatrist yet. I'm not thing, but I've trained myself like for hours every single day, so it's like conditioned into me. So I realized a few things about him. We had this conversation, but he wouldn't take that hard conversation.
Mhm.
He wouldn't take that hard conversation with himself and with his shorty, and he just ended up losing his shorty and still ended up being on that medication.
Yeah. So it's like a lose lose.
It is a
Well, I
lose
mean,
lose.
that's props to you to even say something. I feel like so many times, people like friends in general, they don't want to like tell you to straight up the truth. Like they'd rather you be happy and kind of like, take your lumps as they come instead of like try to prevent you from taking those lumps or try to prevent, like they won't check you. You know what I mean? Like when you're
Exactly.
fucking up or like you're doing like some bullshit, like a lot of times they won't check you. They'll kind of just let you go down the tube instead of preventing you from going down the tube. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
that's props to you. I've always felt like the same way. Like, if you can help somebody, if you could do like a preventive check before somebody, fucking gets into some shit, it's like, why wouldn't you? Like,
exactly.
it's like,
People
yeah,
don't
you
do
might
it.
hurt some feelings, but that's just like kind of the nature of the beast. Would you rather hurt someone's feelings and they get over it like the next day, or would you rather them get hurt and then they're fucked up for like a long time, So
My favorite quote is an ounce of prevention is better than, I mean, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So I like what you said. It's better to prevent that harm before they get to that point. I
yeah.
feel like I'm reading the 48 Laws of Power right now, and it talks about like who you should have with you as like working with you in the business. And he talks about not having friends because they are more agreeable. Like you said, they're not going to tell you straight up. They're not going to tell you the truth. But I started living by this code in my life because I would rather, and this is the code: better to lose the friend than to lose the person. If your friend is a cocaine addict, right, and he's your friend, you have the fiduciary duty, the responsibility to go up to your friend and be like, cut the shit, take his shit, throw it out, and be like, if he has a fucking problem, come catch the hands. That should be a conversation you should be able to have. And if he can't handle it, screw everything. Because I've had this conversation with several of my friends, and they were hard conversations. Like I've hanged around like Zen addicts. I've hanged around like people that have different pills, cocaine, whatever. My friends OD, they died twice and they came back, and now thank God they're clean. But it's like experiencing that type of stuff and seeing that type of thing ruin a person's life for no better than they literally want that feeling, that 15 minutes or an hour of just pure peace because they have no peace in their life. It's like
Mhm.
they've gotten to that point, and somebody's got to give them a wake up call. And there's a big thing that people don't give up their addiction is because they have support groups. Some people say so in Portugal they've been saying like, oh, legalize drugs, yada yada yada. But stigma and shame is a huge factor to influencing somebody to stop doing something. Because when you engineer behavior, if you reward that behavior, they're more likely to continue that behavior. But when you punish that behavior, for example, social ostracization, which is a huge pain point to a lot of people, that's a huge factor to getting people off what they're doing. And a lot of people talk about the reason that I got off drugs is because my mom cut me off, or my brother cut me off, or my father cut me off. So I think it's something to be aware of. And obviously, you still want to not throw them to the wolves, but like, be like, cut it out, stop. I'm not funding you. I'm not giving you money and stuff like that.
So how do you feel about the other side of the coin? People were just like, yeah, like just legalize it. You know what I mean? Like, because their argument is, well, if you legalize it, it's like a kid when you tell them no. Like if you tell a kid no, he's gonna do it anyway. So that's like their argument. It's like kind of like an elementary school debate right there.
Let me think about that because if it was that simple to tell somebody no and they would stop, we wouldn't have laws.
No,
You got
no,
to
but
think about it that way.
this would be like they're like, yeah, like you can do it. Like we're not gonna stop you. Like whatever. Like it's
Okay,
almost like a
if
reverse
I told a
psychology
murderer
sort
and
of thing. You know what I'm saying?
But if I told a murderer no, is he gonna stop murdering?
I mean, no, but this is supposed to be like if you told them yes, like fucking kill as many people as you want. But I know what you're saying. I would think like, okay, he'd be like, all right, like free game. Like who the fuck? Like you just said yes, like let's get it. You know, fucking, I got my knife sharpened up now.
I don't think it's the thrill though, because I feel like people think it's like the thrill of like, oh, I'm smoking.
I'm
Where are
doing
my
bad
parents?
shit. I'm doing bad shit
Yeah,
out here. I don't want to get
it's not
caught.
the thrill at all. Like for example, I'm a habitual marijuana user. You get what I'm saying? I'm trying to quit,
Yeah.
but it's like it's conditioning. I used to have a lot of social anxiety. Even now, I have a lot of social anxiety, but I meditate a lot. But I like to smoke here and there just so I can stay calm in like a physical state. Because my issue is I don't stay afraid because from martial arts training from like when I was a kid, the way that I grew up, anything fear wise was turned to aggression. You
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm saying? If you're getting chased home and you get caught, you have to fight back. You went from flight to fight.
Yeah.
That's just how we're conditioned to be as animals. So that's my issue. I've had a lot of reward systems for being an aggressive person. So that's why I started meditating a lot, doing a lot of workouts, reading a lot, because I realized that I can't be that person. The world doesn't reward aggression, it rewards innovation, it rewards harmonious working with social groups. And I lacked those skills. So I had to learn how to do that. And it took me a while, but it was definitely worth that investment.
You know, it's weird, like, you know, getting to know you more just from this chat and hearing all this because the experiences I had with you, you were always just like kind of a quiet, nice kid. Like, especially like on the lacrosse team, like you were never a problem, like at all. You kind of just were
I
chill.
appreciate
You
that.
would talk with, you know, Amin and whoever else is on the team and just kind of do your thing, you know?
Well, I didn't read a lot until like my first year of college. I built my own library after my first year of college. So I just started reading, and then becoming a more educated individual. I was always able to conversate, but my issue even back then was I had social anxiety, not from the effect of like, oh, somebody's threatening me, they could take me on in a fight. Because I would just rip somebody's throat out. I don't care. I would bite you with my teeth. That's the reality. In the fight, I don't care. and
Cannibal
and
ass motherfucker.
it really is though. Like I've trained with like expert snaz and they taught me how to snap necks and like break backs. So it's like I have like a lot of fighting experience and I'm willing to go to that point if somebody's willing to go to that point.
Where did you
Um
train with them? If you don't mind me asking.
so expert snaz I trained recently in Sambo. I trained with them in I don't know if it's Brighton or Arlington. I trained judo. I have my brown belt. I want to go get soon get my black belt in judo. I trained jiu-jitsu. I trained boxing, Muay Thai, taijutsu, or I think it was taijutsu or karate as a kid. But I trained several martial arts. I like fighting. I like fighting because learning about evil, like learning about the gulags, learning about the Nazis, you understand the importance of self-defense, not only in like a physical, like hand to hand, but like weaponry as well. Because if you don't have the ability to defend yourself, other people can impose their will upon you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I was just interested. That's awesome, though. I didn't mean to cut you off about your library.
No, it's that's why I needed to stop.
But what were you saying about the library? You said you were
um,
building it up and you just started for your first year of college.
so the library I started building because I realized how arrogant I was as an individual.
Yeah.
And arrogant. And I needed some truth. I needed to sit with myself and be like, oh shit, I'm a dumbass. I clearly don't know as much as I need to know. And like I hanged out with like kids that made me uncomfortable enough to realize that I don't know what I need to be knowing.
Mhm.
One kid he graduated from Northeastern at 21. And he's one of the he's a higher position in the company that I am. Another kid, Harvard dropout, genius. I'm learning a lot from him just from like watching him how he does what he does, and it's like I realized like okay, college isn't so much the most important factor to what a person does and what he becomes, but it's education in general. So how can I educate myself as best as possible so I can surpass these people eventually, right? But I don't want to surpass them in the sense, oh, I want to dominate I want to like dominate them. No, but in the sense of like I want to get past them in a knowledge base so I can come up with better solutions and that I can collaborate with them a lot better, so I can understand them a lot better. So I feel like it's important. It was very important at that point. And also, when you're very depressed and you have no types of like belief in this world, you need somebody else's thoughts to stimulate your growth and your existence. It's people need to understand if you don't have the will to live, if you don't want to be in existence, if you're struggling, somebody else needs to give you life. That could be God, that could be religion from a religious text, or it could just be somebody that wrote a really good book and that speaks to you. There's a book called A Year to Live by I forgot what the author was, but it shows you like what would you want to do if you had a year to live. And it's like that perspective, like if you were gonna die in a year, or if you were to die tomorrow, it's like what would you want your existence to be like? And it's like simple thoughts like these, when you actually condition them and you actually work them out in your head and you sit down for like a month or a couple of days to actually think about them cognitively, you're actually able to get a lot of answers, because a lot of answers are already within you, because you know yourself best. Nobody has the full context of your life except you. So you should be able to, in having other people's perspectives without them actually talking in your ear, helps for you to get better solutions to your problems that you already understand very well.
Yeah, I mean that totally makes sense, especially I feel like what really stood out to me, right? I mean, obviously the psychological concept, the perspective of a year to live. I mean, that's awesome. And that really got like my gears turning. And I'm because I like to sit down and almost like have a breakdown almost every single day if I can, if I don't get caught up of like where I'm at,
Yeah.
some of the things like I've gone through and how I've overcome them, just like, and then what other things like I want to accomplish and what other things I might have to go through. So it's almost like I run like, mini reports like in like my own mind. So that really brought me to that. But what you were saying before that about people, how if they're less educated, if they're almost ignorant in a sense, where they're not reading, they're not getting education, whether it be in school or just on their own accord, they kind of look to others to sort of fill that gap. I feel like that's huge today, where social media is so big and where there's so many influencers out there. People, I mean, and I've fallen into it sometimes myself. They're not educating themselves because they feel like they can just flip on Instagram or flip on YouTube and watch this person, and they'll be able to give them all the knowledge, all the tools like they need. But at the end of the day, when you do that, you're truly not learning, because you're not diving deep into it. Like, you're watching some fucking random person who probably has no real education just like rant about nonsense. And two, um, you're kind of relying on somebody else for your own happiness. It's like you're not going out there, you're not searching, like you're not becoming an individual. Like, you're more so conforming to who that person is and like their ideals. So you almost become like a disciple of a fucking YouTuber or whoever the hell like this random person is. So
It's an echo of an
um
existence.
like it's really, what was that?
It's an echo of an existence.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's an echo of an existence. It's like you're not becoming an individual. It's you're not learning. You're not shaping your mind. You're just kind of, you're almost like at that point you're almost like in like a toddler stage, where the parent walks in, grab the kid, put him in the crib, you flip him on in front of fucking Elmo, and you're just getting influenced by Elmo all day. Like, you're not you know
By
engaged. You're
Elmo.
not going to work. You're not going out getting these experiences. You're not traveling. You're not reading. Like, you're not getting an education. Like, you're just flipping on a fucking screen and hoping it's going to do something for you.
I feel like I've been guilty of that, like that myself, especially like early on, because I would just use the information that I got from my classes and then I would speak about them. And then one point it hit me. It was like if every, let's say there's like 100,000 people in a group in the world, right? Obviously there's not 100,000 people, but let's say 100,000 people, and let's say 80 to 90% of them are saying the exact same information as me, which is most likely the case because I went through other social media pages and they have very like common like psychological beliefs. Um, um, so I chose a very unorthodox approach. For example, I will diagnose your symptoms. I won't say you're depressed. Like if you're sleeping in all day, if you're not going to work, if you're not doing that, I'll diagnose your symptoms and I'll treat your symptoms one by one. And then you'll get better over time that way. It's like how they treat AIDS. You can't cure AIDS, but you can treat the symptoms. So I started taking that approach, because society will try to say, "Oh, you're depressed," or "you're yada yada," or "you're." For example, my parents told me I was like a very angry person, and I was an angry person, but I was getting it under control a lot better than most people had it, even them. And then they were trying to make me seem like I was a sick person or something like that. And then I stopped and I reflected for a second. And over time, I started observing my family. And I was like, every single day, they argue way more than I do. They get into more fights than I do every single day. And they
Mhm.
want to label me as sick. And it's like, I realize that's another aspect of this conversation. I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent. But it's
No,
like
I mean,
somebody
but
else
it's
shouldn't be
so
able to.
important. You
It
know.
happens a lot. I speak like very fast. My brain goes to like different topics. It's an
Yeah.
ADHD thing, but it
Yeah.
works in my favor sometimes.
No, but I mean, what you just brought up is so important to the whole field of psychology and, just development in general. Like so much childhood development is okay, what's your home environment, you know?
Yes,
And
environment,
people
epigenetic.
people either conform to it, in most cases they do, or they kind of have like this weird switch where they see, all right, this isn't how it's supposed to be, and they kind of resent it. And it seems like you were kind of the latter. Like you saw, okay, like, maybe I'm aggressive, because my parents are aggressive, and like this is like what I saw. Like they're yelling at each other, like they're fighting, whatever else is going on. So they're like pretty aggressive people. But as you got a little bit older and you learned a little bit more about like your, the world and yourself, and you had your own experiences, you saw, okay, maybe I shouldn't be this aggressive because this isn't like how you should be living. So you got like that switch flip on to the
Very
point
just
where
harmonious.
you've changed your attitudes and your behaviors.
It's like
But that's
I was
so
very
important. Like a lot of
detrimental
people don't
person.
realize that it starts from when you're really young. Like you got to have the proper role models in place oftentimes from the get-go, from the gate.
I agree with that. You said like that very like it's development when you're very young. Freud talks about that's the first 1 to 8 years of your life. And I think from because I studied the subconscious and I studied Dr. Bruce Lipton, I think it's even when you're inside the womb. So it's like if your parents are stressed out individuals, like my mom, she left my father. She escaped my father basically, because he was extremely religious and he came back from war, so he had like heavy PTSD too. So he was very strict, so to speak. Very irrational in the way he did things early on. He was very fear based. So she had to leave him, yada yada yada. But then I realized that I was also conditioned for that aggressive behavior because it comes from fear. So the fear, because people don't realize like emotions have a duality. If you're angry, you're also fearful, no matter what. If you're
Mhm.
angry, there's also an underlying aspect of fear. For example, let's say
That's like
somebody.
some Star Wars shit. You watch Star
It is.
Wars? Yeah.
I got it from. It's funny you said I got it from like Buddhist teachings.
Yeah.
That's where I got it from. So it
Well,
is like a Star Wars shit.
when they do like the breakdown, like all the Star Wars and stuff, well, a lot of people don't realize because it's obviously an Americanized movie. Like it's very, the director, the actors, everything else. It's like they're white people.
Yeah.
A lot of like the concepts and the idea art that George Lucas got from to put in the Star Wars was actually from like Buddhist teachings and from Asian culture.
I made an assumption, but you just verified it for me, so I appreciate that as well.
Like for example, Darth Vader, he was based off of a samurai armar,
Are you
like his
serious?
outfit. Yeah, I swear to God. Dude, I'm like a
Fucking
huge
crazy.
nerd when it comes to like that shit, like Marvel and stuff. So,
The quotes like good artists copy, great artists steal.
yeah.
Let me borrow this culture right quick. I'll be back, boys.
Well, the whole thing with Jedi, they're supposed to be like samurai. They're fighting with
That's
fucking laser swords instead of
true.
just regular swords.
You just fucked with my perception.
Yeah. It's like Yoda's supposed to be like the Buddha. He's fucking the master teacher. He's all knowing.
It's like I like how Buddha speaks. Yoda speaks to like, trust me, you don't.
Yeah.
He's like, a run you must. It's like, good luck. Thank you for that enlightenment, that wisdom. But I do like the Star Wars check because it shows like if you look at Luke, has a lot of suffering. He lost his parents. Then he had to train all that. It's like suffering is like a way to find enlightenment. It's a way to find peace. Even if you look back at a lot of like the old like the guy that trained Luke, I can't even believe I forgot his name.
Obi-Wan.
Um, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Holy freaking shit, bro!
They're
It's been a
making a
while since I
TV
watched
show
Star Wars.
for him now with
What is it?
Ewan
Is it
McGregor.
cartoon or is it
No, it's
like
live action.
really?
Yeah, it's with the Ewan McGregor, the actor from the prequels when he was young.
I'm not familiar to be honest. I haven't watched it in a while.
Oh, okay. Remember the ones that came out in like the early 2000s?
The one where like the older ones, or is that
It's
those were the 80s or something like that?
it's
80s,
like
90s.
Revenge of the Sith, Attack of the Clones, all those.
No, I don't think I watched the newer ones to be honest.
Oh, you'll know immediately once you see them.
Probably because I watched a lot of the older ones because I like the older movies. Because
Those are
a
the
lot
better
of
ones anyway, to be
these
honest.
are the better ones. They have well, I can't compare really because I don't have I don't have a comparison. But
Well, it's
you
like
can
with
have
most
those
movies. Usually
comparisons.
the first one or like the first few that come out are usually the best. Like
Like Taken
it,
1, that Taken 2 and 3 were just ass.
yeah, when you try to remake something that's good, like you almost make it worse.
That's true. We're seeing that right now. I mean, actually, they're not doing too bad of a job, but a lot of like pro like Star Wars guys are like, nah, this is ass. This isn't as
Yeah.
good as I thought it would be.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? I'd almost I wouldn't say I'd rather something come out than not, because I mean I'll go to the movies, I'll see it every fucking time, and I'll still find a reason to like it. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's almost like a legacy thing. It's like a reputation sort of thing. It's like, damn, this is kind of just like putting a bad taste in people's mouths.
You gotta say my fucking seat every time. I'm coming. Don't worry. You don't gotta doubt. I want the season pass to every show. I wasn't a big Star Wars fan until like a year or two ago when I started like watching a little bit more of Star Wars. I'm not a big fan either. I'm just like a fan because
Yeah.
I think they had like good plot and they were well written. But like I watched the recent one too with the female lead. I thought that was pretty cool as well.
Yeah. That's the sequel trilogy.
That one was well written.
There's a regular trilogy, there's a sequel trilogy, which gets a lot of shit. Like that's where the Star Wars fans like hate it. Like
Yeah.
I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I'm okay with the movies. I'm not like the biggest fan, but like they're not like awful.
Yeah.
And they have the prequel trilogy, which is like the early 2000s group.
I feel like people need to give it more of a chance because I feel like people like want to hold on to like the old ways. Like, I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
they're boomers, but like they definitely want to hold on to the old ways. I'm like, bro, just give it a chance. You never know. You never know. It
Where the
may
whole
not be
thing, they were
more, but
trying
it's
to be like
something.
more modern. They had the lead as a female. They had like a strong black character as like one of the main
Politically
characters.
correct. More
They
politically
they just
correct.
try to get more diversified.
I
But
feel
people are
like,
just like, no, like if it's not a white dude, I don't want it.
but that's the thing. I don't agree with the. I actually
So
despise
I
critical
know what
race
you're gonna
theory.
say. Like I don't agree with forced diversification. Like I'm all fine with being diverse and everything. Obviously, like, I
Yeah,
mean that's how we grew up. Like our school is pretty fucking
we had
diverse.
the melting pot.
Yeah, the city in general is pretty diverse, but I feel like it shouldn't be forced,
Yeah,
because then people I feel grow a sense of like resentment, like oh these people are imposing, or you just know, like it's just like that weird like feeling. It's like okay, like they don't belong here, instead of just let people trickle in, and it's like okay, like now they're integrated, like they've kind of rooted in, instead of just like boom, like now they're here.
there's no system. Well, I'm not gonna say there's no systematic racism because I know there's like redlining, but it's like I agree with that gradual like integration of people because it's like if you do it immediately, it's like a culture shock. People are not used to that type of thing.
Yeah.
And it happens in several parts of the world, like where like there's a large influx of immigrants due to war. There's a high rate of hate crimes, yada yada yada. But it's because people, well, one, people are arrogant, like they don't understand the other person or their culture, but it's also like you need to be able to conform a little bit. You can't just be doing all your cultural shit around other people. You
Hmm.
get what I'm saying? Like there's a sense of respect. Like if you came to America, like bro, you should be able to speak the language. Obviously, not immediately. Like it took my mom 2 to 3 years to learn the language. My
Yeah.
grandfather doesn't speak the language, and I still think he should be able to speak the language, regardless. My grandmother doesn't speak the language, and I still fucking think she should be able to speak the language, regardless. So when people tell me, oh, because a lot of people they project their insecurities, they'll be like, oh, you don't need to speak English, yada yada yada, and it's because maybe they had a parent that didn't speak English, so they
Yeah.
feel insecure about that topic. And I really attack people like that. Trust me, like I studied dark psychology, I studied like all that nonsense, and people will try to leverage like your own personal story. They'd be like, oh, you're not black, so you can't talk about the topic. Oh, you're not white. It's like, no, if I'm a white friend and I hanged around black people and I witnessed people police being racist towards them, or I saw this and that, I have a perspective about that topic. I am able to speak about that topic. This critical race theory, where race is the most important thing to people, is a lot of bullshit. Because I would not be where I am today if I took what everybody said about being a Muslim, and I would have ended up what they would have said. Oh, you're a terrorist. Oh, you're a murderer. Oh, you're
Mhm.
this or that. Oh, you're not peaceful. It's like, okay, your perspective. You chose to adopt that perspective about me. I will not choose that. Your opinion of me will not become my existence.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. I mean, this is definitely an interesting time, especially with the internet and everything. How people can just kind of put you on blast just for saying anything, like regardless if they know like where your point of view or like your train of thoughts coming from, like what your experience was shaped on. Like I saw so many people like when the Black Lives Matter like movements and stuff
Oh
was
my
going on.
goodness,
There was so
bro.
much backlash back and forth on the internet with like screen heroes, and then I mean, one of the things, like, because you kind of brought it
Love that.
up, was you know, if like a white person was at like the Black Lives Matter protest, or like they were trying to like be involved with the movement, they're like, bro, like you're white, you know. But like you were saying, like they could have like a black best friend, or they could even have black family members, you know, by marriage or whatever have you.
And they don't give them the right to speak. First of all, if you inhibit somebody's speech, you inhibit a form of truth because you could be wrong. And
Yeah.
you thinking that you're right is dangerous. So it's like a big thing for me is I hang out around with a lot of African Americans. I hang out with several groups. I love people. Okay, like I
Mhm.
love talking to people. I love meeting people. God bless me with that one thing, if nothing else. I'm a sociable person. And what I've realized talking to several people, like I've talked to white people and I talked to like African American people. Like I've literally talked to people that come from below nothing, like below nothing. And they'll tell me there's no excuse. They tell me straight up, there's no excuse. It's like you'll either perform and you'll get what you want out of life, or somebody else is gonna get it. And they tell me they don't care where they came from, they don't care where they started. Like one kid, one of my friends, he's from Haiti, and he was there when the Haiti earthquake happened, and he saw death. He saw death all around him at a young age. And then he lived in Brooklyn, New York, like a hood, like a block away or 2 blocks away from where Pop Smoke grew up. It's like seeing those type of people, and then like they telling me race is the least important thing just proves time and time again. Even Malcolm X is actually a better example because he's more well known. Dr. Martin Luther King too, but Malcolm X more specifically, he says like well, you see it with the Black Lives Matter. It's like you see like fake black activists, like that lady that bought $1 million house in like a white neighborhood, and she's like, "Oh, I don't like white people," yada yada yada. A lot of
Yeah.
that bullshit. Like Malcolm X talks about that. It's like when like quote unquote white people or people that want to support. And I don't agree with the way that he used white people. Because I feel like he grouped a lot of people into one thing, and he's like they can't join our group. So he was doing a little bit of segregation himself. But this idea of like how certain groups of people don't have your best interest, even when they say they have your best interest. And they talk about it in the 48 laws of power. It's like, I'm going to tell you something that you want to hear until I can get into a position of power where I can't be removed. And then I can do whatever I want to do at that point. And that's a common way to influence people. It's a dark form of psychology. And I realized that it's because friends are agreeable. The two things to actually make anybody like anybody else, it's relatability and then how close you live to that person. So if you have a TV, you basically live close to everybody. But how relatable can I be to you? That's the other factor.
Yeah, I mean, we tend to like things and people that are more like how we are, you know. So that's usually like whenever you have like a conversation with somebody, it's like usually the common ground, like, oh, like where did you grow up? Like, what do you like to do? Like, blah blah. And usually, if you say, oh, we're in the same city, like, that's like instant like connection, like boom, like you're like my boy. You know what I mean? Like I was out in
No way.
Boston the other night. Like I was with my buddy, and like we went to a couple bars and stuff. So like we were chatting people up, and like one of the first things every single person would ask us is, "Where are you from?" And the few times we ran into people that were like from Revere, it was like, "Dude, like click, like we're best friends." Like this person could have been like a total fucking scumbag, and it was like just because like they're from the same city, like boom, all right, you know what I mean? And so it's usually like where you're from. I feel like race too. Like if you're a like I mean we talk to people, like, you know, I don't
No,
give a
you're
shit. Like
right.
I'll
You're
talk to
right.
anybody of whatever color. I'll talk to anybody, but
Yeah.
a lot of people I know, it's like instant, like, okay, are they white? I'm white. Okay, let me go up and talk with them. But it's like the race thing gets evolved where it's almost like that weird, awkward, like gray area. Like,
It is.
yeah, I want to talk to them, but it's like I don't know if I should, like, because there's like that weird societal tension. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really
I've been
feel it, but I feel like it does exist. Like I'll still go up and talk to you. I shouldn't say I don't feel it. Sometimes I do feel it, but I'll still say fucking do it anyway because I know it's the right thing to do. But I know
exactly.
like there's that underlying feeling. Like I I'm over it. Like I don't let it affect me, but I always think about it like in terms of like whenever I talk to anybody, I always think about like their perspective. Like I try to put myself like in their shoes even before I even say a word. So I always think of it, you know. So I just always like I'm like, hopefully it doesn't feel that way. Hopefully it doesn't feel that way. Hopefully they don't feel that way, you know. So
What I've realized like exactly what you said. It's like that gray area, like that weird race thing. I've witnessed it like a lot. Like I went to a part, like a party yesterday. So I started going to parties. I used to hate parties. That's another factor.
Yeah.
But I realized the importance of parties for like social interaction, actually making connections. But anyways, um, I hanged out with a group of people, and there was two African American kids, right? Very awesome kids. I think they both go to Harvard. They both play football. Um, but immediately what I saw, bro, I'm not even kidding. It was funny to me. They came. Obviously, they do football together, but I see this in other times as well. This is not the first time I've seen this, but
Yep.
this is the most recent thing. They sit next to each other. One, that's the first thing. When we were at the bar or like the club area, they stuck together no matter what, and then they walked off. And
Yeah.
they didn't do it like all the time, but they did their own thing. But they were always together. They would always stick together, and they would not leave each other's side. And I feel like that's what I've seen like at a like consistent theme, because a lot of people think like African Americans think white people are racist, especially people that are better off than them. I also had that misconception. That was a form
Yeah.
of ignorance, ignorance or arrogance. I forgot which term. One's a lack of knowledge. One's a sense of self-importance. Um, I think it's ignorance. Ignorance is the correct word with the I. But anyways, so and then I started like opening myself up. Bless you.
Thank you.
God bless you, Mikey Doe. But this kid named Burton, I started hanging Alex. I started hanging out with him. And initially, I thought he was like a person that didn't like me, or he judged me based on what I did or my past. But he was very open. Bless you. God bless
Thanks,
you.
bro.
But clearing out the demons. But like he told me, like he showed me around. He started educating me on like different things. He was actually one of the big reasons that I got my real estate license. But it's like, because I was able to remove that thing, that thought process, oh, this kid's racist, this kid doesn't like me, whatever. I was able to make a connection, a genuine friendship. And another thing that people need to realize, it's like, even if somebody it's like, even if somebody doesn't like mess with you, let's say somebody has like an initial reaction, like you said, that gray area where maybe like an African American may not like some white people because what they've heard or what they've seen and how they've interacted with other people of similar race. It's like you reacting like an aggressive manner or a disharmonious manner after the day that acting disharmonious manner is just gonna make it worse. Because the my favorite quote is like from the 48 Laws of Power as well. It's like, if would you rather grab the sword by the blade and then wield that weapon, or would you rather grab it by the handle? That's what an enemy is initially, and anybody that doesn't f with you is technically an enemy, right? From a tribalistic perspective, if you're not going to be working disharmonious with me, then you're most likely going to be working disharmoniously with me. You're most likely going to be competing with me. But it's like stuff like that that I've been realizing, that I've become aware of. Damn, I forgot the Machiavelli, the 48 Laws of Power. I just had a tangent, but anyways.
Yeah. What's the 48 Laws of Power? Is that like a book?
Yeah, I have it right here.
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to check it out. I saw you did some videos. You did the first law the other day. I saw on your
Yeah,
page.
I did the first law, and I'm gonna do it's gonna be 48 video series, obviously, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna be talking more about it as we like throughout the next couple of months.
That's pretty dope. Yeah. But like that whole societal thing that we were just talking about, I feel like I've always gotten along with different groups of people, so I haven't really felt like it's been much of a problem. But like at the same time, like I had my own social like ignorances, and obviously like I've thought like racist thoughts. Like I've gone through like positions where like I've been racist, like just because like it's kind of how I grew up. Because like I mean,
Yeah.
most old white people are like pretty racist, say some racist shit. But I feel like a lot of
Everybody's
that like helped me realize things from like another perspective in a sense. Just how I grew up like with different cultures, and then also getting like the white, racist like kind of perspective on things. It's like I can kind of see both sides of the coin. So like that's why like when I walk up to people who aren't like me, like a white person, I'm always like, I'm gonna go up and talk to them. Like, why the fuck wouldn't I? It's the person, right? But then at the same time, I'm like, hopefully they don't think like I'm racist. Hopefully they don't think I'm racist. Hopefully they don't think I'm racist. Or like hopefully they don't like, think I'm like some pompous like white boy. So,
I mean, that's why we fucked with you. Like I remember like the sophomore, junior, senior year, like you were one of the only people not to approach us in a racist manner and actually try to like, hey, how are you? Instead of saying, hey, how are you, Arab? And that's why we respected you. You had like a high respect from like a lot of the minorities inside the team. Like I don't know if you recognize that, but like everybody fucked with you more than any other captain. Like, I mean, all the Hispanic kids, I forgot their names, but they were part of the team. Patrick fucked with you heavy more than any other captain. It was a common theme because you were actually genuinely nice. Like, you actually want to connect with people. Like, that was a huge factor. I don't remember locker boxing you, but I tried to locker box everybody else.
No, I appreciate that, man. I mean, that's just kind of, I've always tried to like, get to know people. That's why this podcast I've really enjoyed doing so much, because it's like I get to,
Awesome work, bro. I fucking love it, bro.
yeah. I mean,
It's
obviously I've
awesome.
known you for a few years, and obviously you just said like, I would walk up and get to know you, but how it's like kind of limited because it's like, oh, like, what's up? Like, welcome to the team. And then like we gotta go get changed for practice, then we're all in the field, then we go home, because
And we do starfish drills.
yeah, like life catches up to you. So this is just like nice. It's like a sectioned time to actually, pick somebody's brain and learn about some of the like the cool things like they're getting after.
And I appreciate it because like a lot of like another factor, and I appreciate you never had this, bro. You never had this. And I'm pretty sure it's how you were raised, and I appreciate your parents or whoever taught you this. It's like I'm younger than you, right? I'm probably younger than you by like a year or two. It's like you don't have the like, idea, okay, this kid's younger than me, blah blah blah. It's like no, you just saw that I added value to the market, and you were like, okay, this kid might be good for a podcast, which I appreciate. It's like a lot of people they see like that younger thing. It's like maybe they lack experience. Like no, you never know what person has a skill. Like this, there's kids making millions doing toy reviews on YouTube. Like you don't know what people are capable of. And I appreciate that you actually took the time and actually approached me and actually we actually got the opportunity to do this.
Bro, I honestly, like you brought up like my parents, it's because it's not even like something they taught me directly. It's just like they're both older than me, and they're both like fucking idiots, like quite frankly. So it's like, okay, like you can be, and you realize this a lot, like once you're really out in like the real world, like you turn 18, 19, 20, 21, because then you're technically an adult. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, like now I have the same responsibilities as these people, well, or most of the same responsibilities, like bills, work, like whatever else, as these people who are like 40, 50, 60 years old. And you come to realize, hey, this isn't really anything different. Like,
Yeah.
all it's different is I'm getting, more responsibilities and more experience from what I was getting before. So it doesn't matter how old or how young you are. It's really just, what's your frame of mind? Like what experiences have you gone through? What's your mental at, and it doesn't, it's at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Age is really just a number to that regard. So, I mean, I know 50-year-olds who are fucking idiots, and I know people
Yeah.
who, they're just graduating college and they're fucking idiots. But then I know people who are like 18, 19 and, they're geniuses. It's like, it just varies based off of what you're putting yourself through in life, and then, educating yourself.
I feel like that applies to an age level, but it also applies to a title level. Like, and this is for everybody else that like when you're going into an industry, it's like just because somebody has a better degree or somebody has like more qualifications than you, that doesn't mean shit. That doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
Like I wake up at like 4:30, 3:30 in the morning to start my day, like Monday through Friday, and I'll put in more work than these kids. And I know just from that factor, even though I may not know as much as them, or I might not have the best connections, or I might not fully understand what I'm doing the way that they understand what they're doing. But I know if I can put in the legwork, I'm gonna surpass them. Like we talked about compounding earlier in the thing. It's like if I put in more time into anything, I'm gonna surpass you. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, all that stuff, like the titles, the degrees, they're just pieces of paper. It's just like ink on paper, it's, I know so many people, it's, they go to school, they get like the degree, and then they can't get the job because they don't have experience. It's the
Exactly. Oh
experience is
shit.
always more valuable than actually having the physical piece of paper. Not to say a piece of paper is like useless, it's worth nothing. Like that's like more so like your foot in the door. But for you to actually be sustainable and actually do your job efficiently, like you need experience. You need like that hands-on. You need to be in the trenches.
There's another thing that people experience is important, but you also need to like what you're doing.
Yeah.
People, so think about it this way:
You
you're
need
going,
motivation, you need passion.
but it's more in the sense of like if you're taking 1 to 2 semesters of classes and then you have summer, winter break, and you have spring break, you're not really working like a
Yeah.
regular job. So
Mhm.
if you're not doing that full time, how do you know if you really f with that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've gone through that when I was out of school for a little bit because I was bouncing around like job to job. So
Yeah.
it's like sometimes you don't know till you just fucking do it.
Did you go to the military? I don't know if you went to the military or somebody else.
No, I didn't go in. I get
Oh.
asked that all the time. They're like, "Whoa, like you be like perfect fit. Like, why don't you do it?" And I don't know. I never really fucked with the military like that when I was younger. I mean, now I don't know. I kind of think it's kind of cool now, but I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know if I ever would.
Mikey's too nice of a guy. He wouldn't take your head and shove it up your ass.
I can be me when I want to, but I usually find just, being cool, calm, relaxed, and just getting along with people just works best for me,
That's true, and you've done that a lot. Trust me, you've done that a lot. We were shitheads in high school. It's not like we were fun to get along with.
Yeah.
I was probably chaotic.
No, like I said, dude, like that's why it's weird for you to say that you had like some anger issues and you were aggressive and all this other stuff because you were always just kind of just a chill kid.
Maybe it's how people made me think of myself. That's why no opinion matters to me anymore.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
That's life.
But are you
But
only doing the startup right now?
I'm sorry.
You know, talking about work, are you only doing the startup right now? Or what else are you doing?
I'm taking classes, so I wouldn't be getting my degree if I didn't need it. The only reason I'm getting my degree is because I want to be a doctor and I want to work. I want to be able to say you don't need medication, and I want to be
Yeah.
able to work with like higher officials in educational fields. In educational fields, but more specifically, I want to be able to tell somebody you don't need medication, and then have the certification feel like you definitely don't need medication,
I
because
feel that.
people respect social perception more than they respect the truth. Like Biden, for example, he got into presidency, and if people voted for Biden, good for you. You live your existence, I'm gonna live my existence. But people that voted for Biden, there was literally information on him having dementia and him being racist and him being friends with members of the KKK, and they were like, "Nah, he's good, he's good, he's good."
Yeah.
It's like it's because even CNN, Project Veritas exposed via CNN for this. They were trying to make him be perceived in a certain way when really he wasn't that type of person. So, like I said before, like social perception matters more than facts at any moment in time. Like even in the book, it's like the first law is to not outshine your master. So it's like if I'm working with like a CEO, I'm not going to make myself seem more competent than the CEO. I'm going to be like, I was talking to the CEO, yada yada yada, and he gave me this great idea of doing this, but really it was your idea. But it's like those type of things are important because people are jealous, people are envious, and they won't show it.
I don't know, man. If it was me, I'd be fucking flexing all over that. I'd be like, yeah, dude, like I just outsmarted the CEO. Like he's a dumb fuck. Like this is my idea. You know what I mean?
But
And he
think about
agrees
it
with
this
me.
way: the CEO can just kick you out like that for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, no, I mean, obviously, like I wouldn't be like, fuck him. Like I'm a G. Like I'd be like, like this is like my idea, and he agreed with it. So now we're working in collaboration on it. I'd spruce it up a little bit, but obviously I'd make sure like people know, like, yeah, like I started this, and the CEO, who's obviously the master, the all knowing, agreed with it. So now we're partnered up. We teamed
I,
up.
I I agree with that. There should be some type of like you take some type of responsibility for your work as well.
Yeah, you need to take pride in your work, especially if you're working hard on a project and it's like, all right, now this dude just fucking took a shit all over my desk. Like, he's taking all the work, he's taking all the fucking credit, and now I'm just stuck with, all right, like at least you tried, like no, fuck that. Like you see that happen so many times in so many different industries. It's like people get ripped off and then the thing goes big and they lose out. But they were the
That's
ones that
why
fucking started the groundwork.
that's why you don't hold out for like expected stocks, like you said, like they'll put in mad work and they won't get anything. It's because they're expecting stakehold later on, but that's stupid. That's
Yeah.
stupid.
No.
You should never expect stakehold later on unless it's in the contract. If it's not in writing, it never happens.
Yeah. I mean, power and money are two things that man usually seems to not be able to overcome. So I wouldn't trust anybody in power to do anything that I put the work in that's going to make money and be able to be like, oh, I'll pay you back down the road. Like, I'll pay it forward. Like, that takes a very strong person to do that. Like, that's like incredible, like, will and mental toughness just to be able to be like, all right, like, I'm making 30 mil right here. This guy, it was his idea. Like, let me give him half. Like I feel like, I don't know. I feel like most people, they couldn't do that. Like, if you're telling me I got to give up 15 mil, even though it's like, no, I'm going to keep 15 mil. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
There's two perceptions I take to that. Okay, it's like, let's say that 15 mil. And by the way, it's gonna be my last point, just because I have to head out to work in a little bit.
Yeah, it's all good.
But he's the perception is like, let's say it takes 15 mil. Like you making the 30 mil will take you 30 years. Okay,
Yep.
But with him, you can make 15 mil in a year. It's that time perspective and also the connections. It's like I am nowhere. Like no, when I say nowhere, I'm like this guy is planet Earth and I'm a pebble. Okay, when
Yep.
it comes to connections, like his dad owns monopolies in like Vietnam and stuff like that. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like even from like but not even from like a manipulative perspective. It's important to be genuine because it's like if you're disingenuous, just like an important point in genuine. If you're disingenuous, you have to be that person at all times, and that's tiring because you're using more energy to see how you need to act around this person to get the certain things out of this person. That's stupid, right? But it's like for this perspective, it's like if you know there's egos in the room and you know you have to massage certain egos, it's like might as well do it. My CEO doesn't have that, thankfully, but in general, a lot of CEOs do have that because there's board of directors, there's different people that have influence on whether that CEO can stay in position. So if you seem like you're a more capable person, if you seem that you're making the company more profitable, he will be replaced that quickly. And if a lot of people in that group are there's a story in the book that they talk about. It's like the king brings on his friend, and his friend he trains them, he gives them education, he becomes better and better and better, and then eventually he convinces people within the court to just rule him out of power. His friend that was a king, he convinced people around him to rule him out of power. So it's like stuff like that that you need to be aware of as well, because it's a battlefield really. It's like it's not as simple as like, okay, I'm gonna go work, I can be genuine with this person, and I'm gonna get what I want. It's like a lot of people they're very disingenuous and they try to be very manipulative. Anyways,
A lot of people hide behind a cloak too. I feel like, it's I've always found it, yeah, like you keep that good energy, keep that positive outlook, but you always got to like double track and kind of keep tabs on people from a distance just to kind of see. Like it's like the old adage is like you keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
yes,
But like whenever I get like into business or I start like working with somebody, I'm like the nicest guy in the world. Like I put out like what you see is what you get. But at the same
exactly.
time, like I'm not always so quick to like buddy you if it's gonna be like money or power involved. Cause I kind of want to see like where your intentions lie. And then like I just feel like that's I don't know. I feel like that's like worked for me. It's like you almost like don't befriend somebody you're doing business with until they've kind of earned that trust or like earned that friendship. And then it's like, okay, like now we're in this, like we're partners, like this is like let's get it.
That's the approach I started taking, and it got re-emphasized to me with a Greek quote that I started listening to. It's like judge a friend before taking him on as a friend, and
Yeah.
it's like I made that mistake, and I'm sure we've all made this mistake of taking on a friend that wasn't the best choice for us, and they fucked up shit in our lives or made us very unhappy in some way, and then we've had to learn the hard way. But like you said, it's important to judge the person before you take them on as a friend or a business partner, because
Mhm.
it's like if I'm gonna spend my limited existence with you, it's like why would I waste it with the wrong person?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that I feel like is like threefold when it comes to getting like a girlfriend or like whatever have you, like a partner, like in a
Oh, big
relationship.
time.
Like I'm like very rarely like ever like boot up, and that's because like I'm so nitpicky. Because I mean, it's like I always think about it. Like if I'm gonna be with this person, say for the rest of my life, or even like months or years, it's like my time I value like incredibly. So for me to waste my time like with somebody that's so close to me, like I gotta make sure like this is it. Like they're on par. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like, obviously nobody's perfect, but it's like you gotta check off the boxes.
That's why I don't date that much.
Yeah.
It's like well, I'm a picky person, so obviously like not a lot of shorties pick up like check off the boxes, but it's like we live in an over sexualized society too, which is another issue for me. It's like we don't know what's important anymore. Like we
Yeah.
think, okay, a fat ass, whatever. This guy is pretty big, like it looks good. It's like, okay, can he raise children though?
Yeah. My
You
thing
know?
is my thing is, I mean, obviously I go off looks first. I feel like everybody
Yeah,
does. And if you
everybody,
say
everybody.
that, then you're absolutely fucking lying to yourself. So
Exactly.
obviously it's looks first, but then it's like once you start getting engaged, it's like, can you hold the conversation? What are your morals? What are your values? Like what's your work ethic? Like what are you working towards? You know what I mean?
Ain't no
Um,
stay at home moms up in this bitch. Everybody's working.
yeah. It's I need a sugar mama. But
Make
yeah,
some
I mean,
side
you
money.
you get it, and you get
Yeah.
it. It's like certain things that you look for. It's like I don't know, like you got to be a person. You got to have some sort of ambition. You got to have some sort of goals. I don't know.
Can't
It's
make a
like
wife
because
out of
you
a
you
tree,
know what
huh?
it's like to be hungry, you know. So you're trying to look for
Yeah.
somebody who's also hungry that you can eat with, you know.
The worst thing you could have in your life is somebody not hungry. That's annoying.
Yeah,
It's like you're working, saving up
it
20
takes your
grand, and then
energy.
she goes to the mall and spends 20 grand. I'm like, die,
Yeah,
just die.
yeah. It just takes your energy too, though. It's because obviously you become who you hang with, like who you're
Yeah,
around a lot, whether it be a social network, family, or just anything in general. Which obviously when we tapped, that's like kind of one of the center points that we were just talking about. But when you have somebody who's like directly at like your hip like that, like how a relationship would be, like this is your right hand. It's you need that energy. You need even when the days where you don't have the energy, where somebody can lift you up. But if they're a downer all the time, and the one time you're down, you can get caught in a very dangerous spiral that way.
it's a feedback loop. There was a guy, he was like an investor in real estate, and he bought a property and he started renting out rooms in the house. And his wife was like, "Oh, I don't feel comfortable renting out rooms to the house, yada yada yada." But then he asked her, "It's like, do you want to be poor for the rest of your life, or do you want to be rich?" And then she started going off about, oh, how my father worked a regular job. And he's like, at that moment, I knew she was a broke person. And it's like, I broke up with her that day.
Yeah, he's probably laughing straight to the bank right now.
Bro, he's a multi-millionaire in real estate. He owns like a ton of properties, bro.
She's
He's
probably just
vibing.
sitting there. She's sitting there in her fucking one bedroom flat, just like, oh man, I fucked up.
Mike is throwing the low blow. I feel like a lot of people they're not willing to make that sacrifice. It's like you
Yeah.
need to start cutting off people for your growth. Like there was several people I blocked. Like I was friends with them for years, but I don't talk to them anymore. Even a kid, bro. I hanged out with them last week. I literally chose this week not to talk to them anymore because I realized certain behavior patterns. Like I'll invite him to stuff without even questioning, and I'll try to get him in no matter what.
Yep.
Then he'll tell me, "Oh, there's something tomorrow." He'll go do that thing, and he won't invite people. And I'm like, okay, you do that thing, you can go start living that existence. But over here, we reciprocate.
My biggest thing is like people think I can just exist and get involved in certain things, and just because I'm around them, here and there, it's gonna just come to me. But people don't understand. Like, there's a lot of pain involved with getting the things you want. There's a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot of long hours. Like, you you literally have to go through some shit most of the time in order to get something better on the other side. Like, it's not just like, all right, I'm here, like let me get something good. Like that rarely ever happens. Like usually like, you have to go through some sort of hardship or some sort of struggle in order to obtain like what you want or obtain something better than what you have.
Some
And
extra chunky diarrhea, bro.
but I mean, I mean that goes back if obviously if you read or you watch a lot of movies or anything in general, like storytelling. That's like the hero's journey. Like they start off usually like with nothing. They work their way up. They go through some bullshit, and then they come out on the other side and they like fucking get superpowers or some shit like that. Like you go through some shit. Like it's a progression till you fucking go through some like serious shit, and then you become a better person.
I think it was Jim Rohn. He said the strongest emotion is disgust, and you don't feel disgust until you've shitted on yourself so many times that the smell actually starts to reek.
Yeah. It's like some point you got to get tired of not being where you want to be at.
Bro, I started getting tired like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and it's I realized that you're gonna feel uncomfortable doing work, but the feeling after is good. But
Yeah.
let's say I instantly gratified, like I'll feel good initially, but long term I'll feel bad. So it's like you just make that choice. It's like you flip. It's like, well, do I want to feel good now and then feel bad later? Or do I want to feel good later and then feel bad now? It's like that's my choice to make. That's the choice I'm gonna be living with. But you have to realize that's gonna affect your children as well, and your friends and your family, because nobody's living the existence by themselves. People are solely mistaken and like, oh, YOLO, I need to live for myself. I'm the most important. It's like, no. If you live for yourself, that's a hell of an existence, in my opinion. It's important to live for yourself. Obviously, it's important to take care of yourself. It's important to treat yourself nice. Because, like, as Snoop Dogg says, I'd like to thank me for all the hard work that I did.
That song's a bump.
When he did that, bro, I was like, this nigga, bro. He was about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, you definitely got to work for yourself if other people around you aren't willing to collaborate. But at the end of the day, it's a very lonely existence if you're just fine with being by yourself. Like we're so innately and rooted in being social butterflies, and people just kind of stray away from that. Like we're so how we even got to the point where we're at right now, where we're literally we can fucking talk to each other and work as a society is because we were socially connected.
You got social media on steroids.
Yeah. People want to talk about, nah, it's all about me, like, solo life, blah, blah, blah. And then they're on social media. Like, you're literally putting this out
Self-made.
there to the other people in the world. Like, you're just making an account, you are already connected to other people. And it's never going to change. You are always going to be connected to other people, even if you're working towards your own individual goals.
People need to start appreciating other people's existences. We've become so like normal speaking skills. Like people were like I'll talk to somebody and they'll be like, "Wow, I haven't seen somebody have a conversation in a long time."
Yeah, well,
I'm
that's
like,
part of the reason why
"You're
people
a
like this so
retard."
much, It's
Yeah.
like this is just casual conversation. Like whenever I get on and have people on, like this is literally a conversation. If we were to see each other in person, like we would just literally chat about this, But people
Catch
get
up.
so lost on this. It's so simple yet so important, and you can learn so much from just being willing to listen and willing to give feedback. Even
I
with
feel
like a
like
normal everyday person, like we're just everyday people. Like we haven't done anything big yet. It's like just because you're
soon, soon.
just because you're not a fucking executive or CEO or Gary V or fucking multimillionaire Jeff Bezos or
Yeah.
billionaire, it's like it doesn't mean you can't learn from somebody else. Like that's one of the things, even when I was younger, I always kind of got was it doesn't matter what position they are or where they're at. Like you treat them with respect and you try to have a conversation with them because you can learn something from everybody, even if it's minuscule.
I've realized that recently. Like initially, I always had this misconception about like Ivy leagues, like they were very pretentious, very pompous, and then I realized like you said, it's like just having a conversation with somebody. Like I would open myself. I wouldn't be so hesitant to speak to them and afraid of judgment. Maybe I'm not as smart as them. Maybe I'm not able to articulate myself as well as them. But I'm definitely gonna try to have this conversation with them because like I was talking to some guy from MIT a couple days ago or yesterday, and he was talking about different things that I'm obviously not. He's a programmer. He's a software engineer. So if he discussed something within that field, I was obviously not very educated on that. But we were able to have different conversations on Activision because he worked for Activision. So we were able to talk about Call of Duty. MIT, I used to know some people from MIT, so we were able to discuss the campus and stuff like that. So it's like I was able to still sustain the conversation in that sense as well. But people like they really they always think somebody's judging them, but they never ask this question. It's like, is this person wondering if I'm judging them too? And that gives
Mhm.
you a lot of ease. It's not thinking like, oh, this person's the all commanding person in this conversation. It's like, no, I can apply judgment as well. I can apply pressure as well. I can apply influence in this conversation as well. And it's important that people recognize that when they're having conversation with any type of person, with any type of people.
Yeah, it's I completely lost what I was gonna say. It was fuck.
I like to dip soon, like to go too, because I have to head to the office right now.
All right, bro. I mean, this is a great time. I mean, it was definitely good, chatting with you. And like you were just saying, like the conversation it goes both ways, and as long as fucking both people are willing to provide feedback and give like their own 2 cents of the sides, like I feel like a good conversation is where both people are engaged and both people get to walk away with something different than what they came into it with. And this, I mean, this definitely helped me. I got to enlighten my perspective some more, and that's really what this is all about.
I'm definitely gonna have you on one of my lives because I do lives periodically, but I want to schedule a live with you because obviously this is like me more trying to teach like your audience, you trying to pick my brain, but I want to pick your brain too because you obviously have had a few people on your podcast, so you're becoming the Joe Rogan vibe right now. So we're gonna be able to have different conversations that I think people would really appreciate your perspective on. Especially the sports field. I feel like a lot of people don't understand the importance of like exercise. And I know I don't know how you are recently, but I know you've always been into like exercise and nutrition, like
I'm
that stuff.
still in
I feel
good
like you love
shape.
to. All
Yeah.
right, this is what I'm talking about, Mikey. I mean, you don't have like chubby cheeks or anything. You got a strong neck, so I'm assuming you're doing a lot of push-ups and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I still work out like 5, 6 days a week. So,
Jeez, my G. Well, then you're actually gonna be able to talk to them because we're gonna have I realized the importance of like exercise on mental health. The first 2 hours after you exercise, it releases it makes you feel like really good after that. So if somebody's in a depressed state, they can actually leverage that. Even like Grant Cardone talks about like how exercise is an important form of using energy throughout your day so you can stay focused, like working out to actually add energy to yourself. People think that exercise is a form of taking energy. It is if you are using energy, but it also creates energy at the same time because you're creating a more effective system that functions. But that's my last point. But yeah.
all right, man. I'm gonna just screen share this real quick just so people can they can see like your page and everything.
Hey, shout out Mikey Dell. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I got you, brother. Yeah, so here we go. Peeps and players.
We're gonna leave it with good morning, peeps and players on psychology now.
my
Welcome
screen's
to the
bugging.
Mikey Dell Show.
All right, there we go. You can see that, right?
Yes, sir. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
dude.
a
Like
meme that
I
I just
woke up
posted
this morning, instantly on my feed, it was this one with the fucking cone heads.
The cone one had me dying. I was up at 4:30. I had some homework to do because I have a meeting later on. I can't do my homework later at that point. So I'm gonna go. I did my homework, finished it, went back to sleep, woke back up.
With a
Woke up for
random
this.
ass coat right here too.
Had 2 phone calls.
You always have the drippy coats. It's just fucking funny. Kids just walk in the street. It's like spring. He has the drippy coat on.
I love my Tommy Hilfiger, my Canada Goose. I be trying to flex, you know the vibes.
Yeah, but like you do a good job. Like it's like one meme, then one serious video, then one meme, then one serious video, then one meme. You know.
I wish people engaged more with my videos because I want to be entertaining, but I also want you to get something out of it.
Yeah. But it's all
But
good
it's fine.
stuff, you know. I'm glad I
Appreciate
got
it,
put
bro.
on to the psychology wave from my boy.
I got put onto the podcast way by you. I appreciate that. I
Hey,
saw how many
man.
people you started having on. I was like, damn, Mikey's putting in the legwork.
That's what it's all about, though. You know, you talk with people, you interact, and then you just kind of get to learn some new experiences, learn some new things, and you start fucking getting to work, you know?
100%, my brother. Well, Mikey, I'm gonna head out. I appreciate your time, my brother. I appreciate you having me on, and I definitely want to be had on here more often. I feel like I'm gonna compound my knowledge in the next 6 years, not 6 years, 6 months, and we'll definitely get back with something better as well.
All right, man. Sounds good. But before we meet up again, don't forget to breathe, brother.
I breathe. I just don't look like I breathe.
No, I don't think so, bro. You're like a fucking alien. You have like some weird extra breathing. It's like through your skin.
I be breathing through my skin, bro. It's natural.
All right, man.
Brother, I appreciate you. God bless you.
Yeah, bro. Have a good, productive rest of your day, brother.
You too, brother. Peace.
Thanks. Have a